What if I told you that in this game you can build the perfect city or create the worst urban disaster imaginable? Dead-end streets, endless construction, and food trucks saving your game at the last second. This is Cities USA, a city building game where every decision counts. You'll place tiles, build skyscrapers, create parks, and carefully connect your streets. Because here, every mistake has its cost. And all begins, as always, with setting the round. Cities USA is a game for 1 to 4 players, aged 10 and up, and a game would last approximately 45 minutes. Every round follows the same simple steps. First, draw 4 scoring cards, as so. Place 3 up and 1 face down, like this one. Next, draw 4 city tiles, place 3 up and 1 face down, like so. And then 6 feature tiles, 5 face up and 1 face down, like this one. And finally, fill just the first 10 spaces with the board with the construction pieces. And ignore any spaces with a question mark. In this case, that would be these 2 spaces over here. Then in this case, you would take this option. You will just take 2 random construction tiles from the bag. Once everything is ready, you're set to start playing. Let's see the turn structure. The player with the star begins, so this star over here. Turns move clockwise around the table. And on your turn, pick an element from the board and place a meeple to claim it, like so. Let's say, for example, I want for my first action, I will take a meeple, these ones, and I'm gonna place my meeple over here because I want to claim this city tile, like so, and I would place my meeple over here. It could be a tile, a card, or a group of construction pieces. Here's the catch. In 3 or 4 player games, you can only place 1 meeple per row. But in 2 player games, you place 2. This forces you to prioritize. You cannot take everything, you know? And whatever you claim, it goes straight to your city, like so. I would do this and connect these 2 tiles with the streets, or the avenues in this case. But each piece you take has a clear placement rules. City tiles must connect to other tiles, like so. You can rotate them in any way you like. Buildings are built by color and you can stack them up to 4 levels, like this. Let's say, for example, I want to take this option over here and I'm gonna take everything in this option. As you can see, I don't have any yellow construction pieces, so I must discard them and I just can place this and this in the correct color stack over here. The feature tiles go in their matching areas. So over here, for example, let's say I want to take this feature tile, I have to place it in the water because it's a water feature tile. This is where the puzzle really begins and your decisions start to matter. Some elements are game changers, so this is very important. So let's see them. One of the most important is the skyscraper. When you take construction pieces, like we already saw, you might also take the skyscraper cap from the same space. So in this case, I took this construction pieces and I will take the skyscraper cap from the same space in this case. But only if you already have a 4-level building of that color. Place it immediately, and that building becomes a 5 levels high, a skyscraper. This is huge because moving from 4 to 5 levels is where the real points come in. But building isn't everything. You also need to connect your city properly, and this is when the bridges come. So bridges are your connection tool. They link streets and avenues and prevent dead ends. After placing a tile, you can place a bridge. Sometimes it's even required. So let's say, for example, I want to place my tile over here. And you see I created a dead end. So I must place one of my bridges over here to connect the street again. So in this case, it was required for me to place the bridge. If you leave a street unconnected, you will lose at the end of the game 3 points. A bridge connects 2 spaces without streets. It must start from the center of a tile and it counts as a regular street. Planning your connections is just as important as building. And if you don't, problems will appear. Construction sites are tricky. You cannot build directly on them, but you can cover them with feature tiles. If you don't, you get penalties at the end of the game. And the more you leave, the worse is the loss. Sometimes you'll need quick solutions. So let's say, for example, I take this tile, the city tile, and I've placed this city tile over here. Obviously, I've created a dead end, so I must place a bridge. But now I have a construction site. And the only way that I can cover this construction site is either with a token that would use like a joker. You can use it to create any building of any color, or you can use my favorite item of this game, that are the food trucks. The food truck feature tile, that is this one. Oops. And we can place it over here, just on top. And the food trucks feature tile, it will give me 2 points at the end of the game. So that is amazing. But if you want maximum points, you need to think bigger by planning areas. So let's see them. So for example, let's say I want to start with the water and the combos in the water. So water areas work as connected zones. Here you place yachts, ferries, and lighthouses, each with size requirements. If you meet requirements, you score points. That is easy. But the real twist is in the combos. A ferry and the lighthouse together give 5 bonus points. This changes how you plan your layout completely. And parks follow a similar rule. Benches, swings, slides, all depends on the size of the area. And they have combos too. A swing with a slide together score 5 points. Organize these zones wisely and your score can skyrocket. Let's see, for example, this and this. If you put these two types of feature tiles together, so by itself, it will give you 1 point of victory at the end of the game. And this is same. But if you connect one area with these two tiles, park tiles, you can score 5 points by the end of the game. So that is super good for your scoring at the end of the game. And the same happens with the ferry, is this feature tile over here, and the lighthouse on the water over here. If you make this combo, you will have 5 points at the end of the game per pair. Rounds continue the same way. Once all meeples are placed, the round ends. The player who took the star starts the next round. Collect all meeples, clear the board, and set up again. Games end after 8 rounds or 4 rounds in 2-player games. Then it's time for the final scoring. Add up all your points. Buildings based on height, so like so. So many floors, so many points. City achievements, scoring cards, and future tiles, like so. This is, for example, how you would count all the points with the feature tiles and the combos, like we talked about, and then subtract the penalties, uncover construction sites, and also dead-end streets. So for every dead-end street, you'll have 3 minus points. Then the player with most points wins. In case of a tie, achievements break it. And if you want more, there's extra ways to play. So for example, you have the 2-player games that are slightly different. So you have more rounds and a smaller city and stricter placement rules. And you have the solo mode. In this game, you have the unique solo mode where you can place against the game itself, set up as 4 players who are playing, take your normal turn, and then draw a card that removes pieces from the board, from these types of cards that are these ones, as you can see. And every turn, the game will remove all the resources that you have available in the board, and you'll have to play each round with lesser resources every round. So your goal is to complete at least 2 achievements, so 2 achievements from the different cities that you have, quickly as possible. Well, as quickly as possible. Fail and you lose. Succeed and try to beat your record. And that's Cities USA, a game where building well isn't enough. You have to build better than anyone else. So here's the question. Will you design the perfect city or create total urban chaos? Find out in Cities USA and the new cities available with this game that are San Francisco, New Orleans, Seattle, you'll have Miami, you have New York, you'll have Boston, Los Angeles, and Chicago. See you in the next tutorial. Bye-bye!